Hello and welcome everybody to the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone with your favorite host, King NPB. Yeah, know that's me, baby. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about NBA free agency, some crazy moves that is going to reshape the league going into next year. The NFL, some headlines that have caught my attention, especially for my beloved 49ers. The FIFA Club World Cup and how the U.S. men's national team is doing in the Gold Cup. The WNBA expanding, plus the All-Star Game starters named the WWE, the Night of Champions, the outcome, my thoughts on it, and Monday Night Raw, because we just had that, plus UFC's Ilya Topuria, now a two-division champ, and Tom Aspinall wishing John Jones well on his retirement. Now, before we get into this episode, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a brief moment to thank all of you guys, my subscribers, for being a part of this channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops. Also, leave a comment. I want to know if you agree or disagree with my takes. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. You're watching the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone. Please click on that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops. Now, let's kick it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's start off this episode by talking about the NBA and the move that has shaken the league today, which is Damian Lillard being waived by the Milwaukee Bucks in order to sign Miles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal. Now, the Bucks had to make this move in order to free up the cap space that they needed to sign Miles Turner, and since Damian Lillard did not want to be there from the beginning, it's been reported that since they are waived, he is ecstatic because now he gets to be in Portland with his family, and he gets to decide where he can go play next. Because of these factors, he was jubilant that they decided to waive him, and they're paying his full contract. So it was $113 million that was still left on his deal, I believe, over the next 2 seasons. That now gets prolonged over the next 5 years and spread out into $22.3 million per year. With the Bucks making this move, it opened up the salary cap space that they needed in order to sign Miles Turner, who, by all intents and purposes, are going to be healthy. And since the Milwaukee Bucks weren't going to have Damian Lillard and Dame didn't want to be there, it was a mutual agreement to part ways. Dame's still going to get paid. Dame is not going to play next year because of his torn ACL. And honestly, where should Dame go play? I think Miami could be an option for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he has interest in coming home to Golden State because we know he's originally from Oakland and he grew up a Golden State Warrior fan. So maybe Mike Dunleavy makes a move to try to sign him and bring him in, not this year, but the following year, especially because Jimmy Butler's not going to be around. Because I think this is next year will be Jimmy's last year on his deal. Then we know Jimmy's going to probably either want a contract extension or something, and he might not be worth it at that point. We're still wait and see on that scenario. He could go back to Portland, and Portland has been making moves, ladies and gentlemen, this offseason. It's not like they haven't done anything to try to bolster that team up. I think Portland, maybe not this year, but in the following year, could be potentially the next Oklahoma City Thunder. And by all intents and purposes, it seems like Dame loves Portland. He loves the state of the state of Oregon, I think. And because that's where he started his career, he's a loyalty guy, has a lot of memories in that building. And I think he has a good relationship with Chauncey Billups. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back there. But this move for the Milwaukee Bucks, it now allows them to be able to compete next year with Giannis on that roster because they did re-sign Bobby Portis. They did lose Brook Lopez, however, but they still got Giannis. And by all intents and purposes, it looks like Giannis and Miles Turner both seem elated by this move because now they get to play together. They're going to be a very strong defensive team. Now, the issue is, do they have the right head coach to guide them in the playoffs? And Doc Rivers, as of late, has not proven to be that head coach. His record in the playoffs after winning his one and only championship has been atrocious. Multiple times he's had a 3-1 lead in the conference or in the playoffs, and he's blown it. He can't close them out. For some reason, he can't close them out. That's just as much on the players as it is on Doc, but the one constant factor is this, and it's Doc Rivers not making the proper adjustments. So is this move good for the Milwaukee Bucks, especially next year with Channing Tatum, not Channing Tatum, with Jason Tatum being out. I always say fucking Channing Tatum. No, with Jason Tatum being out next year, with the Celtics essentially being in a rebuild, Tyrese Halliburton dealing with his injury, and now the Bucks taking away a vital piece in Miles Turner from Indiana. All these things, it's especially because we know the Indiana Pacers and the Milwaukee Bucks have had that heated rivalry over the last few years. It's just like when Ray Allen left the Celtics for Miami. This is similar because you got Miles Turner leaving the Pacers for the Bucks, and over the last couple seasons, there's been a rivalry there. And it's safe to say now, I think Milwaukee kind of has the edge. It depends on what moves the Pacers make. They still have, I think, in my opinion, the better head coach in Rick Carlisle. But it's all wait and see. I think the Bucks have positioned themselves well in the East to compete next year, and I think the ultimate deterring factor there is, will Doc Rivers finally be able to make the proper adjustments that's going to allow Giannis and that team to get over the hump. We'll wait and see. I don't know. Till I see it, I won't believe it.
Guys, have you heard? Nelson, tell the people.
Shady Mob Productions is an official affiliate of HBO Max. Click on the link in the description and sign up so you can watch hit series like Hard Knocks, Game of Thrones, and House of Dragons.
Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
Now let's talk about some other moves that have caught my attention that will definitely be making the league as a whole completely different next year. Could be making the certain teams better, could be making other teams worse. But one thing's for sure, I think my Golden State Warriors and I think the Los Angeles Lakers are in a bit of trouble. Warriors haven't necessarily made any significant moves this offseason. I also don't know what they're going to do with Jonathan Kuminga, even though I love JK. I think JK has the potential to become a star for the Warriors in the post-Curry era if given the proper opportunity. I just want to see him play and feed off of Butler, Curry, maybe Draymond. I don't know if him and Draymond are a good fit together, but I think he can play with Butler and Curry well. So we don't know what they're going to do there. They also need, in my opinion, a big. They lost Kevin Looney this year, so I don't know what my Warriors are going to essentially end up doing to really put themselves in a position next year to compete for a title. Same with the Lakers. They just lost Dorian Finney-Smith. They still haven't signed a center. They signed LaRavia, who played for the Kings last year, but came on towards the end of the year, didn't necessarily have a stellar year. Could he continue to have that for the Lakers in the upcoming season? We don't know. It's with the new ownership and the Lakers prioritizing now building around Luka in the future. It kind of seems like they're not fully invested in competing for a title this year as they with LeBron, even though they have LeBron James on that roster, they're more leaning towards building for the future and getting the right pieces around him. And LeBron, which actually brings me to the LeBron James factor, he opted into his contract for 2025, 2026 for $52.6 million. And then Rich Paul came out with his comments saying that LeBron wants to compete for a championship, which kind of gave me kind of mixed signals. Because in my opinion, I thought the Lakers, by all intents and purposes, with LeBron, Luka, I think Rui's still there, and and Austin Reeves is also still there. I thought they were built to compete for a title. I guess a lot of people didn't see it that way, and I guess it sounded like LeBron might be seeking a trade, which came back that the league doesn't really have interest in LeBron, especially at 40 years old, and especially if he's going to opt into a $52.6 million contract this year. I think LeBron plays for the Lakers the entirety of the season. I don't think in the next year we'll see. I think he might do a signing trade, or he can pick and choose his destination next year. Now, next year, if that is the case, realistically, what's the salary that LeBron's going to be demanding next year? Because I don't know if a team is going to want to pay $50 million, $60 million, $40 million for 2 years of LeBron, $40 million a year, $50 million a year, not $40 million for 2 years. I'm talking about 40, 50, 60 million for 2 years, essentially, of LeBron James per year for his services if he's not the same player that he used to be and you can't necessarily get your team over the hump. I think LeBron at some point, if he wants to, even though he says he doesn't care about ring culture, and even though he says he doesn't, I think he thinks ring culture might be overrated and he doesn't understand rings matter. And if he's going to be a ring chaser, like he's been known to be, because that's what he did when he went to the Miami Heat. When he went back to Cleveland, he basically made them sign Kevin Love and bring players that he could get along with well there. Same thing when he left Cleveland the second time and he went to the Lakers. He forced them to get like AD and make moves to try to compete for him. They got a bubble championship, even though I put an asterisk on it because there was a layoff. There was a layoff. They only played like 7 games, and it was just like it was not bad. It was not what I wanted to see. I would have rather them cancel the season at that point. But he won a ring there, and because of those factors, he's made his name being known as a ring chaser. So if that's the case, I could see him going back to Cleveland. That team is basically built up. They could use a LeBron James. I would love it if he would come to the Warriors and pair up with Steph. But if that does happen, it would be in Steph's favor. Steph would never leave, would have never left the team. He brought LeBron James to his team, and then they won a championship together. Now, I think LeBron would win the Finals MVP if that has anything if that's what he wants to do. But I think if he were to come to the Warriors and they win a championship, that would be a feather in Steph's cap in that GOAT conversation, which would put him, in my opinion, further away from Michael than it would put him further away to Michael and put Steph closer in that top 3 GOAT conversation. Because in the LeBron James era, LeBron lost to Steph, joined Steph, and then won a championship. That's just from a legacy perspective. Moving on to another move that was made earlier on by the Celtics. They moved off Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, which put them under the second apron of the salary cap. So they got out of whatever luxury tax they would have to pay, which was astronomical that the new ownership didn't want to pay. And now they have reported that they don't want to move off Jaylen Brown or Derek White unless those offers are astronomical and make sense. Jaylen Brown, in my honest opinion, he can be the number 1 for a year for the Celtics. If not, when Jason Tatum comes back, I still think Jaylen Brown could be that number 1 option. That duo between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I think they have another championship or 2 in them. I really genuinely believe they have another championship or 2 in them. They've made it to multiple Eastern Conference championship games. They won a championship together. Jaylen Brown was the MVP there. I think as long as you have those 2 guys, you can build the team around them, right? They got in return for Jrue Holiday, Anthony Simmons, who has been reported that he's going to be on the move again. I don't think he's going to remain on the Celtics. They also got 2 future second-round picks in exchange for Jrue Holiday, who went to the Portland Trail Blazers, who drafted, in my opinion, Young Hassan, who we'll talk about here in a bit. And then they also traded away Kristaps Porzingis for literally nickels on the dollar. Now, when they moved off Kristaps Porzingis, it was a 3-team trade where Terrence Mann and Drake Powell, who was the 22nd overall pick in 2025, went to the Nets. George Niang in a second rounder went to the Celtics, and Kristaps Porzingis went to the Hawks, plus a second-round pick. And now Kristaps gets to pair with Trae Young, who I think Trae Young still has it in him. Atlanta's has made some moves this offseason in order for them to compete and essentially make the playoffs next year. And I think they have their franchise guy in Trae Young. I think with the addition of Kristaps Porzingis, with Alexander Walker joining that team, I think they're making enough moves to be able to be somewhat competitive next year, at least make the playoffs. Hopefully not be a play-in team, but be a solid playoff team, which would be good for Trae Young, which would be good for the Hawks. They lost Clint Capella to the Houston Rockets. Now, Houston Rockets, ladies and gentlemen, they have been on a fucking tear this offseason. They traded for Kevin Durant. They gave up Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and multiple draft picks to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for Kevin Durant. And realistically, in my personal opinion, they won that trade. Then they went off ahead in this offseason. They signed center Clint Capella back to the team who they originally drafted Clint. Now he's back on a 3-year, $21.5 million deal. Then they all went out and signed Dorian Finney-Smith. So they now have defense. They have depth. They have offense. Houston is legitimately becoming a team that is going to be competing and contending for a title, I think, next year. I know I said when they traded for KD in my last episode that I think they'd they wouldn't get past the first round, or I think they could get past the first round, maybe make it to the conference semis. But with these moves, the depth that the Houston Rockets now have, even after losing Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, they have KD. They have a weapon who can be a number one option if they need him to be. If not, he can be one A, 1B type situation. I think Amin Thompson's going to take a step forward. Şengün is still on the rise. He's a Jokic light. He's not necessarily Jokic yet. And then we got Clint Capella and Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, yo, Houston, if there's ever a time for you to buy Houston stock, I think it would be right now. And next year, Houston is going to take that step forward, in my opinion, which kind of sucks for my Warriors, which kind of sucks for Lakers fans, because Lakers fans and Warriors have not done shit this this offseason so far. Now, another move that also caught my attention was Michael Porter Jr. being traded from the Denver Nuggets to the Nets for Cameron Johnson. And honestly, I think that's a minor upgrade. No offense to Michael Porter Jr., who's a champion in his own right, who plays phenomenal, who has played phenomenal for the Denver Nuggets in his time there. Cameron Johnson, younger, more athletic player, can hit the three, can drive, defend. I think Cameron Johnson is going to play very well next to Nikola Jokic. And I think whoever they bring in to be the head coach, I don't know if they've announced who the next head coach for the Denver Nuggets is yet. But I personally think, or if the interim became the full-time, but I think adding Cameron Johnson there to the Denver Nuggets to help bolster that offense on both sides of the ball, because I think Cameron Johnson can also play defense, is great. Nuggets are also making improvements to try to bolster their team up. A player that made money off their playoff performance really quickly, Luke Cornett signing a 4-year deal with the San Antonio Spurs, I think for like $41 million or 40 plus million a year. Good for him. Luke Cornett in his time in the league has not necessarily played that much basketball. But last year when the Celtics needed him, he showed up, he showed out, and he earned his money, which is great for Luke Cornett, who now gets, bro. San Antonio now has the Twin Towers. Luke Cornett is like 7'1". Wembanyama is like 7'4". Like, bro, I feel Houston, San Antonio for a playoff series. Like, I want to see that. I think that'll be a phenomenal. You got KD, you got Amin Thompson, you got like fucking it's the city of New York versus each other, basically. Just all buildings, skyscrapers. Jesus Christ. Pelicans made another move. They traded CJ McCollum and Kelly Olynyk to the Washington Wizards for Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, Micah Peavy, and the 40th pick in this year's draft, which I forget who it was. But yeah, CJ McCollum, the Pelicans are going young. They're going young. I think they're still trying to figure out if Zion is going to be that guy. I think they still have BI. But Jordan Poole, he used to be a former Warrior, didn't necessarily work out well with the Wizards, where he wanted to be the face. Now he's going to be just another guy on the squad, another guy on the bench, just getting his points, maybe being able, now that this is his third stop, being able to develop into a character where he can lead guys, or just be a guy that fits in the locker room and make smarter decisions, because some of his decisions are just stupid decisions that he makes when he has the ball in his hands. Austin Reeves turned down his contract with the Lakers, mainly because the Lakers only made the offer so that it wouldn't be disrespectful, but they knew that the contract wasn't going to be agreed to. They're going to try to sign him next year to a 4-year, $96 million max contract extension. A move that happened earlier on was Orlando trading for Desmond Bane, giving up KCP, Cole Anthony, and 4 unprotected first-round picks, and a first-round pick swap with the Memphis Grizzlies. And Cole Anthony is also not guaranteed to stay with the Grizzlies. I think they're working out on a deal so he can move out and they can open up salary cap space that they need to sign somebody else. But Desmond Bane of the Orlando Magic, I don't know if that necessarily makes them full-fledged title contenders in the upcoming season for the East. But with all the moves happening in the Eastern Conference, it it could be something in the right step for them to actually be able to compete with all the injuries that have occurred. The New York Knicks have stayed active this offseason, even though they don't have a head coach. It's reported that they're doing their second interview with Mike Brown for the New York Knicks head coaching position. But they have Utah Jazz basically bought out Jordan Clarkson, and Clarkson has signed a contract to go and play with the New York Knicks, which is great because even though they don't have their head coach, they are adding depth. And we know Tibbs did not like going deep in his bench. If they go for Mike Brown, they have a good core. They already have the players there. All they would necessarily need is just the depth. They just need a bench. They need 4 or 5. They need 3 to 4 guys from the bench that they can rely on at any moment and go out there, play defense, get the points, get the assists, play make if they can. And Jordan Clarkson is that guy. He can shoot the 3. I think he's a great ball handler. And he's a good backup point guard, good second guard for Jalen Brunson out there in New York. So this move by New York, in my honest opinion, is a great move. D'Angelo Russell has signed a 2-year deal with the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks are also making some moves to try to stack up, especially after they drafted Cooper Flag. It'll be interesting to see what the Mavericks ultimately pan out to be this upcoming year, especially because we know Kyrie Irving isn't going to be back until sometime in January. And then last but not least, to wrap up this entire NBA segment, and not necessarily NBA move related, Malik Beasley is under investigation by, I think, the FBI or the district attorney's office for gambling. And gambling on NBA games. And if that is the case, I think his NBA career is 100% over. Hopefully it's not true that Malik Beasley gambled on NBA games or gambled on himself, especially because I think he's a good player. I thought he had a great career with the Detroit Pistons. I think he was in contract negotiations with the Utah Jazz, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Now everything's been basically tabled, and it's come out that he's been in financial troubles the last few years, I guess. But hey, prayers out to Malik Beasley. Hopefully it's not true. If there is more stuff that comes out that I can actually fully dive into and read and like just give you my thoughts on, I will. But yeah, I'm praying that it's not true, because I would hate it if his NBA career ended like this, and it would end just like Pete Rose's career basically ended in baseball. The only difference is Pete Rose was a legend. Malik Beasley sadly is not, and the millions of dollars that he made in his career, now that goes away, right? So we'll see what happens. Best of wishes to Malik and his family and all of his endeavors. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so to wrap up the NBA for the day, DeAndre Ayton has agreed to a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. And although they have finally found their center who they can run the pick and roll with, Luka Doncic, somebody that looks like it will be a viable option and allow them to compete, I just don't think DeAndre Ayton is going to be enough for them to compete against the Denver Nuggets, who have gotten not drastically, but who have gotten better, in my opinion, this offseason. The Minnesota Timberwolves, who were just in the Western Conference Finals, even though they lost 5 games to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are the current champions. And let's not forget the Houston Rockets, who have made tremendous moves this offseason. I didn't think they were going to really take a step forward just by adding KD, but since then they've added Clint Capella, they've added Dorian Finney-Smith. Their starting 5 is deep. They're a deep squad, and I think those 4 teams literally are ahead of the Lakers. We'll see what they do. I also think Portland, and this is going to actually be the last topic that I'll be discussing. I think the Portland Trailblazers, even though they've gone young, they brought in Drew Holiday, who's an experienced vet, who's a champion. Young Hassan, they drafted, who in the CBA, the Chinese Basketball Association, Kwang Dao, in his 2 years there, I think he was top 10, if not top 3 in rebounding. He averaged about 15 to 16 points playing with grown men. He's 20 years old. So I think this rookie, the first Chinese player we've drafted, or the NBA has drafted, I think in 17 years. I think there's a potential that he's a star. I think there's a very true potential that he will be the face of the Portland Trail Blazers. Because if you look at his highlights, ladies and gentlemen, Yang Hassan is legitimately the guy. He looks like a much more athletic and a bit more mobile and limber Jokic. He can drive, he can play make, he can rebound. He led, I think, the CBA in blocks. So Yang Hassan plus the pieces that are around him in Portland. I know they moved off Anthony Simmons, but they got a deep squad. I believe in Chauncey Billups, and maybe they bring back Dame towards the end of the season. I think Portland is going to be able to compete this year. So we'll see what happens. Those are my thoughts currently on the NBA situation. Now let's switch over to the WNBA, where the Indiana Fever have won the Commissioner's Cup and beaten the Minnesota Lynx 74-59. And I'm going to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I think the Fever it's their year to win it all. And they did this without Caitlin Clark. They have a well-rounded team. Natasha Howard won the MVP for the game because she led the team in scoring with 16 points. But Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Milchill, both stellar performances. They have been leaders of this team for a very long time, and they have literally, even with Caitlin Clark not being in the lineup, put the team on their back and performed and kept this team together. So I believe the Indiana Fever this year, it's their year to win it all. If Caitlin Clark can remain healthy, I really don't think anybody else in the WNBA can stop him. Maybe the Liberty, maybe the Aces, we'll see. But we saw the Fever face the Liberty earlier this year with Caitlin Clark, and they won. And they handed them their first loss of the season, and a lot of people thought I think the Liberty were going to go undefeated. That didn't happen with Caitlin Clark on the court. So literally, if Caitlin Clark is on that court, I think the Fever can literally win it all. And this actually transitions into the next segment of the WNBA that I want to talk about. Caitlin Clark has been named an all-star starter for the second time in her career and a captain in the WNBA All-Star game. And I'll be honest, ladies and gentlemen, it is well-deserved. I know her peers thought she was the 7th or 8th best point guard in the league, and it's just because I think she hasn't played that many games. She's been dealing with injuries this season. We'll see how she can recover, but she should be good to go for the All-Star game. She is the biggest attraction in the WNBA. And guys, she's the cash cow. If she's not playing, if she's not on, nobody I'm sorry, but nobody watches. There's just a vibe that she has that makes it very entertaining and very energetic. No offense to like other players, in my personal opinion, like Angel Reese or Paige Beckers or Asia Wilson. Dude, Asia Wilson, guys, if you haven't caught an Asia Wilson game yet, you're missing out. Asia Wilson is the best WNBA player in the world, best female basketball player on the planet right now. She is phenomenal, well-rounded game, and guys, I think she's pretty attractive. I think I'm gonna be real, Charles. I think Asia Wilson is beautiful, and she's a killer on that motherfucker court. Caitlin Clark is phenomenal. I think as much as I love CC, as much as I'm a fan of CC, I got to give my dues to Asia Wilson because Asia Wilson is a phenomenal player, multiple time MVP champion, future Hall of Famer, guys. I think she's the WNBA's lead top scorer all time. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong there. But Asia Wilson, guys, she's legit. Even Asia Wilson doesn't draw as much of a crowd or viewership as Caitlin Clark does. I think Paige Beckers also does a decent amount of views as well. Paige Beckers has come into the league and she's been killing it. That girl, she's also another one. She is a beautiful killer. If you don't do that, pretty face gonna kill you guys. I'm telling y'all. She is a killer. She is having a tremendous season. I think she's averaging over 20 points, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm inflating her numbers. Paige Beckers has had a tremendous rookie year. I think she's if all goes well, Paige Beckers is going to be the rookie of the year this year. Well-deserved number 1 pick. Dallas Wings are literally probably the next Fever. I think the WNBA is in great hands, in my personal opinion. We got Juju Watkins, I think, coming next year. So it's an exciting time. It is an exciting time for the W right now. And with that actually being said, we're just flying through this WNBA segment because we're going to talk about now the league expanding, ladies and gentlemen. So it's been announced that by 2028, 2029, and 2030, if I'm not mistaken, the WNBA will be bringing 3 teams into the league, making it a total of 18 teams, or making the league a total of 18 teams. I think there's another team coming out next year, if I'm not mistaken. But this is great. Or there's, I think, 2 teams coming out next year, if I'm not mistaken. But this is actually great for the WNBA. This actually gives them a bargaining chip at the table now when they want to negotiate their CBA, because it shows the growth of the league. I know I know some of the players are complaining that why are these locations being selected? Like, I'm sorry, but like, no offense, he kind of sounded a little bit entitled, the comments that Sophie Cunningham did. And I love Sophie. Sophie's a fucking killer. Sophie is amazing. She's beautiful. I love her. I love her game time outfit. I love how she turns it on in the fucking game. She's an enforcer. Woo, she a badass. She a badass. Sophie is a badass. But her comments did make me feel a little bit like she came off a little bit too entitled. Like, Detroit and Cleveland, I think both had WNBA basketball teams in the past. And now with how the league, there's a bigger demand for the league. Them getting those teams back, especially because those are there are established NBA teams already there. There's established ownership already there, probably stable ownership. I know Cleveland with Dan Gilbert. I don't know if I think his ownership group is going to be owning the Cleveland team, the Cleveland WNBA team that's going to be there. I think Detroit's ownership is also going to be owning the Detroit WNBA team that's going to be there. They're going to share basically the same facilities to start off with until new facilities get built. But it just makes sense to me. Philadelphia is getting a WNBA team as well. And I know people are complaining about, oh, why Cleveland, why Detroit? Guys, do you think do you guys really think the players in Cleveland and Detroit want to play there or want to live there? Like, you guys are going literally. Actually, hold on. The WNBA is only 3 months, ladies and gentlemen. That's also like another thing that I think is also going to happen with not this CDA, but maybe the next one. I think they're going to extend the league. And that might benefit the WNBA in the long run, so they can make more money. They can parlay that in their new CBA, get something that's closer to what the men get. But realistically, where the WNBA is right now, they should really compare themselves to where the NBA was by year 25. And year 25 for the NBA was, I think, back in like the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the 1950s. And I think realistically, players in the 1970s were making what players in the were making the same amount that the WNBA players are making. So it's a process where I think there needs to be more games, where literally the season, in my opinion, is too short. Maybe the sweet spot, I don't know how many games they play, but maybe the sweet spot is to play about 50 games if it's possible. I think right now they play somewhere around 36 to 47, if I'm not mistaken. Here, let me check. 44 games. They only play 44 games. They might increase it to 50. I think between 50 to 55 games would increase their pockets. There'd be more supply. There's more teams. You just get more matchups. There's more content. There's just more for us to consume, and that I think would be key for the WNBA and its players to get paid what they feel like they deserve. And yeah, those are my thoughts on the WNBA. Really, last really brief comment on Angel Reese. Angel Reese has had a phenomenal bounce back after a poor start to the season. I just wanted to give that shout out there, because no more me bounds. They're rebounds, okay? They're actual rebounds, well, defensive and offensive, and she's doing her job. She's having a stellar performance. I think she's I wouldn't say so, similar to how Luka plays himself into shape. I think Angel is kind of like Luka, where she had to play herself into shape. I think she had way too many things going on this offseason, where the game wasn't her priority. And we could clearly see that on the court with her performances. So where now, because there's just been so much backlash and there's just a lot of bullshit out there with like fake statements that she makes because they think it's funny. And like, I really do feel bad at this one because she is getting bullied. Because of all these factors, like I think she's channeled it in a positive way on the court where her game is now reflecting who I thought she could be. And hopefully this trajectory just continues. Hopefully when the off season comes, she schedules her routines a little bit better so she has more time to focus on the WNBA so she can get paid in the WNBA for being a female basketball player. Yes, build your empire, do what you got to do. But if you really want to maximize your dollar amount while you're building your empire, be a great WNBA player because that money can then go be refunneled into your career. And if you really are about getting paid equally or close to what men make, you're going to reflect that. It's going to reflect in your game, and hopefully you guys get what you guys deserve because I'm gonna be real with you. The WNBA, it's cheeky, it's fun, it's really entertaining. Sometimes it's more entertaining than the NBA. And yeah, that's my thoughts on the current state of the WNBA. Let's go Fever. I know we got the Golden State Valkyries, but we're still like 4 or 5 years away from really developing the team into being we're an expansion team, right? It's gonna take a while before we get to where we need to be. But in the meantime, let's go Fever. Let's go Caitlin Clark. That's where I stand. We'll be right back after these messages, guys.
Guys, you're watching a Shady Mob production. Make sure to follow the Shady Mob podcast where we break down all the latest content and talk about life. Please make sure to share, like, comment, and subscribe so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
If you're in the San Francisco Bay Area and want the best cut of your life, go check out Headspins Barbershop located in South San Francisco, the official barbershop of N1 from the End Zone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's transition into the world of FIFA. So to lead off today, we want to pay our respects to Diogo Jota, the Portugal international player who played for Liverpool. He was only 28 years old. He tragically passed away in a car accident with his brother Andre Silva in Spain near Zamora. It's still to be determined what happened or how this happened. But Diogo Jota, the Portugal international, who just a few weeks ago with Portugal won the UEFA Nations League. Didn't start any of the games, but he came on as a sub 3 times, was on the bench once. In this past season for Liverpool, he had 37 appearances. He contributed 9 goals, 4 assists. Even though he was dealing with injuries and he was mainly used as a substitute from time to time, it was put into the starting 11. He passed away. It's a tragic. Prayers go out to him and his family. Liverpool just won the Premier League this year. He's won the FA Cup. I think he's also won the EFL. So he was a very accomplished footballer, and he just got married too. And this is honestly, this is just tragic. And I just want to pay my respects to Diogo Jota. And even though I didn't personally follow his career too closely, and he didn't play for any of the teams that I supported, I do feel a responsibility to, as a sports fan, thank him for what he's provided to the world of football with his career and for his services in the sport. With that being said, let's transition into something a little bit lighter and more pleasant tone. The U.S. men's national team, my guys in the USA, the B team, I made the finals, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the Gold Cup finals. We faced Costa Rica. It looked like we should have won the game, in my personal opinion. But we went into overtime. We went into extra time. We went into penalties. And it was perfectly set up for Kyler Navas to be the star for Costa Rica. And the U.S. won. And then they faced Guatemala And the guy wearing the number 10 jersey, Diego Luna, desperation, hunger, scores a brace, putting the U.S. through. Now, at the end of the first half, after they scored the second goal, it felt like the U.S. was holding on for fucking dear life because Guatemala was pushing, and the U.S. players, they got cheeky. They were a little bit. They got on their heels. They were pushing, shoving. They were hungry to fight. And Guatemala in the second half, they pushed. They got the goal. They brought it within one, but they couldn't get over the hump. Now they're gonna face Mexico in the final, and it's set up. If this B team can beat Mexico, who I'm pretty sure it has taken their stars or titular players because they usually always do. I'm expecting it to be a classic final between the U.S. and Mexico, like it always is. I think it'll be a 3-2 game, and I'm hoping the U.S. can pull off the upset. I really am. In my personal opinion, it would make my heart ecstatic because I even though I've married a Mexican woman, I'm an American, Peruvian American. Yes, my family is from Peru, but I bleed red, white, and blue. That's why my logo is red, white, and blue. And in soccer, in I call it here in the States, we call it soccer, right? When we talk European football, I will call it football. But right now we're talking about soccer. Here's soccer in the U.S. I'm being realistic. We are nowhere near the top teams in the world. We play in the fucking CONCACAF. Okay, we should be the number one dogs in the fucking CONCACAF. That's where we should be, and then we can talk about actually competing, making it to the round of 16. To maybe like the quarterfinals of a World Cup. That's where I think we are at. But for us to think that we can truly compete for a World Cup and match up with the likes of Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, fucking Germany, Spain, the likes of those teams, we're not. We're not. But hey, anytime we can be Mexico, guys, USA all the way, baby. Now, in other news, João Pedro has agreed to terms with Chelsea to go and join them. And now they have Delap, they have Nicholas Jackson, who has been dealing with disciplinary issues, and they have João Pedro, who is a striker, more kind of like a false nine, where he's a playmaker. You can play him as a 10. And he's joining a very young Chelsea team. And in my personal opinion, I think he has the potential of being the star of that team. He's a Brazilian international. He doesn't get he's been the face of Brighton's attack for the last few years. Yes, he doesn't score a lot of goals, but he is a creative player and he plays freely. I don't know how he'll fit in Chelsea's structure, but hopefully he'll fit in well, and hopefully he won't do well enough to where he's an issue for my Arsenal. Because my Gunners, we are still waiting to sign a fucking striker, and I don't know why they haven't signed Gyökeres yet. That's just my say. All right, guys. So because this episode is run long, and I've given you my opinion, my thoughts, what is up here, okay? That's what's happening. We're just gonna do 2 NFL topics. Just dive right into it. We're not gonna talk about the Jonnu Smith, Jalen Ramsey trade to the Steelers. In exchange for Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Dolphins. It doesn't it makes the Steelers, I guess, defense a little bit better. It gives them another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, but realistically, neither of those teams are going to be competing for a championship. At best, they're competing for a wild card spot. I don't think the Steelers are winning their division this year. I don't think Miami is going to win their division this year. I think the Bills win the division again, and Josh Allen's dominance in the NFC East continues, and I think either the Ravens, I think the Ravens win the AFC North again. I think Lamar Jackson, that team that they have around him, I know I wasn't going to talk about this, but here I am talking about it. I genuinely think Lamar Jackson and the squad that they have around him, Derrick Henry looking fucking fit as ever. The wide receiver room that they have, the defense that they have, I think they're good. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the AFC North, and that's actually that takes me actually right into the first one. The reason why I think they're going to win the AFC North, and I think they're going to win it quite handily. I think they're going to win at least maybe 13, maybe anywhere between 12 to 14 games. The reason why is because Cincinnati, even though they have locked up Joe Burrow, they have locked up Jamar Chase, they have locked up T. Higgins. I think they even locked up Mike Gesicki, who they signed last year to a 2-year contract extension. Basically, although Joe Burrow's weapons have been paid, and we saw how that offense did, but the issue's been the defense. Okay, the issue has been the defense. And the league leader in sacks, ladies and gentlemen, Trey Hendrickson, he's not on the team right now. He doesn't want to show up to OTAs. He doesn't want to practice. The reason why, because there is a contract dispute. He wanted a new contract last year. They didn't give it to him. He showed out. He played. He earned his fucking paycheck. He earned a new fucking contract. And what do? They haven't paid him. They aren't negotiating with him, and he has said he will not wear a Cincinnati Bengals uniform this season unless they give him a new contract. I understand he's 30 years old. But if you don't want to pay him, then trade him. You drafted somebody in Shamar Stewart, who in college did, with all due respect to Shamar Stewart, didn't have that same level of you don't see that same level of productivity, that potential in Shamar Stewart. Yes, you drafted him in the first round, 17th overall, but in college he didn't put up any numbers really. He might have been a good rusher. He might have been great at getting at the quarterback, but he didn't put up any stats. He didn't record a lot of stacks. He didn't record any real pancakes. I'm just saying, Shamar Stewart, you drafted him in the first round to pair him with Trey Hendrickson, not to make him the new Trey Hendrickson. And you don't have either one of them signed to your fucking team. Trey deserves his contract extension. If you're going to pay, with all due respect to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals offense, y'all put up fucking 60 fucking points and only went 9-8 and didn't even make the playoffs. Hendrickson was the only reason why y'all went 9-8, in my personal opinion, because he was putting up. I know the defense sucked under Lou Anarumo, but dude, Hendrickson was the one solid piece you have. You take him out, you have a new guy that's from college football. He's not proven in the NFL, and you're not giving him his number one defensive piece, and you're also not giving him the guy you drafted to replace him, Shamar Stewart, who didn't even want to show up to rookie minicamp, who hasn't participated because he doesn't like the contract of the Cincinnati Bengals, the language in the waivers and the contract negotiations that they've done. They're trying to add some funky shit, and all he's asking for is the same shit every other NFL team does with their first round picks, especially with somebody that's comparable at that position, and they don't want to do it. Now, the Bengals organization, they're squandering Joe Burrow. Yes, they signed his weapons as pieces, but I don't think they're any closer to competing for a Super Bowl than they were last year with the shit show of defense that they had, because their offense was fine. Zach Taylor, he saved his ass because of the offense, but their defense was ass. And Joe Burrow has an injury history. So you're not. I'm sorry, I'm not even a Cincinnati Bengals fan. I'm a diehard bang bang Niner ganger for life. I'm a diehard 49er fan. It just frustrates me when teams that when owners and teams that have been doing this for such a long fucking time and know what they have to do, don't do what they have to do. And they squander a great Hall of Fame potential quarterback like Joe Burrow in the prime of his career because of these dumb mishaps. That's just my thoughts. And now, speaking of dumb mishaps, let's talk about Diamador Lenore. My San Francisco 49ers defensive back, cornerback, who I thought he's developed. He's been phenomenal for us. We just signed him to a 5-year, $92 million extension, which basically tells you how much we really do believe in Diamador Lenore. But his friends had a gun in the car. I don't really know what happened, but what ended up happening was the police officers wanted to search the vehicle for a weapon. His friends toss him the keys to hide it, and he basically gets caught up. If you're making the amount of money that you're making, the Amador, like Jaw, brother, gotta find better friends. Sometimes you gotta go solo. It sucks. But the reason why you gotta go solo sometimes is because the people around you, they might bring some negativity, bro. And hey, call them, FaceTime them, Zoom call them, do whatever you gotta do to bring them to your house to hang out. You can't be rolling out on the streets with your homeboys like that no more, bro. Now when you making the money you making, and I understand they're gonna be your ride or dies for life. For life. But you really think another incident like this could cost another incident like this, the people you hang out with, could cost you your contract. It cost you your future in the NFL. It's happened it's happened multiple times. I'm just saying. I don't know if you'll listen to this, but Diamador, I wish you nothing but the best, brother. I hope you live out. I know you're going to live up to your contract. I just hope you make the right decisions to make sure you're there for the entirety of your contract. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be right back after these messages.
Guys, join me, Alex the Man Angelov, and check out A&A Radio, where we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest financial news, investments, banking, and personal finance. Check out the channel, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
Guys, have you heard? Shady Mob Productions is an official affiliate of HBO Max. Click on the link in the description and sign up so you can watch hit series like Hard Knocks, Game of Thrones, and House of Dragons. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops. All right, guys, so let's dive into our pro wrestling segment of the day. And let's start off with WWE Night of Champions. My thoughts on it. We're not going to go through all the matches, but we're going to start off with some of the big ones that stood out to me. First match of the night was Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. And Cody ended up winning the King of the Ring finale to claim the King of the Ring title in a very heelish way. Now, I know WWE is hinting at a possible Cody Rhodes heel turn, but my honest opinion, I think the way Cody Rhodes has developed his persona over the last few years in the WWE, he's just money as a babyface. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't personally like Cody Rhodes as a heel in AEW. I didn't think that character fit him, even though his personality or his character in WWE has been a babyface. And it can be corny at times. I feel like it fits him perfectly. And he should have a lengthy run like John Cena did as a babyface, even though he did get booed at points for Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, should in my opinion, remain a babyface for the long haul. And I think Randy should actually become a heel again. I think Randy does his best work as a heel. I'd love to see heel Randy Orton make a return and win a world title because it's been a while. Like he's always put at this point in his career, he's always put in matches where he puts over the other guy, but he doesn't necessarily put himself over. He makes it to the final. He's always like the number one contender, but he can't like seem to get the title anymore. I want to see Randy even though he's older, have another run with the title, another couple runs with the title, maybe match Cena. Or at least put him at Triple H's. I think, does he have more than Triple H? He might have more than Triple H if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I just give Randy another title run, in my honest opinion. We're gonna skip over the Rhea Ripley Raquel Rodriguez match because I wasn't really too interested in it. But the other match that really caught my attention was the Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa for the United States Championship, where Solo, thanks to the help of the new bloodline, became the new United States champion. And honestly, Solo Sikoa, I remember when he was the enforcer in the original bloodline, didn't have a personality. He was lethal. He was the guy. He was the destroyer. He didn't show an ounce of personality. He has great acting chops. Now that he is the leader of the new bloodline, his acting skills, his facial expression, he's just money. He's just very entertaining to watch. And I'll be real with you. I love Solo. Now, I am not a fan of the new bloodline. I'm a fan of Solo Sikoa and what the athleticism that he's displayed, the character development that he's shown, how he's no longer the enforcer, but now he's kind of like that full-fledged heel where he takes the advantage wherever he can get it. And also how the original bloodline I feel like worked because it was legitimate like family members. This I kind of feel like they're just grasping at straws and putting everybody into a stable and trying to make it work for Solo, but I think Solo's money on his own. They just brought in Hiquelo, whose new ring name is Tala Tonga. Tongaloa showed up, and Jeff Cobb, JC Mateo. I think they should just call him fucking Jeff Cobb. JC Mateo, a part of this stable. Just I don't know. I don't like it, but Solo as a solo superstar is money in my personal opinion. I can't wait to see what he does with the U.S. title. I hope they put the world title on him eventually someday. But hey, Solo's doing what he needs to do. Moving on to the Queen of the Ring finale. Jade Cargill beating Asuka to win Queen of the Ring. In my personal opinion, congratulations to Jade Cargill. She is a phenomenal athlete. Super beautiful, super built, super shredded. But is she safe to work with? Because she does botch quite a bit. I know she's not necessarily as developed in her skill set. I'm pretty sure she's been put in the positions that she's been put in because of the way that she looks, her physique. And that's great. But that you also need to have in-ring ability to translate, right? And I'm not trust me, I train to be a pro wrestler. I'm not a pro wrestler. Okay. I know what it takes to be a pro wrestler. And sadly, I didn't have it. I'm just being honest. Maybe someday I'll go back. Who knows? But in this case, Jade Cargill, the ending sequence to her match kind of just threw me for a spin, if I may say so myself. And I don't know. It felt like a deflated win for her winning the Queen of the Ring after the botched finish. Asuka's a pro. Asuka's a legend. She really did her part to try to carry Jade through that match, in my personal opinion. But hey, WWE believes in Jade Cargill, and maybe it's time for them to put the title on Jade. Hopefully, no offense to Rhea, even though I love Rhea Ripley, hope she becomes the world champion again soon. But I think Jade Cargill should get a shot at Io Sky's title more than Tiffany Stratton's, because I think Tiffany's doing phenomenal things as the SmackDown Women's Champion, and I love it. I love Tiffy. Tiffy time all the way. Then we had the CM Punk John Cena main event, where I honestly loved the match. It felt like a classic. It felt fucking like it was 2014 again. We had interference up the wazoo, thanks to whatever the fuck the faction that Seth Rollins is leading. I don't think they've named it yet, or maybe they haven't. I've missed it, but the interference they ran with with the Braun squad, and then basically Seth coming out trying to cash in, and John Cena, fucking I feel bad for Charles Robinson. He got his head knocked the fuck out. Fucking Seth coming in to try to cash in, but then coming out the following night on Monday Night Raw and saying, "Oh, I wasn't there to cash in. I was there to just impede CM Punk from winning the world title." And bro, Seth Rollins is, I don't know if he's a heel. I don't know if he's a babyface. All I know is Seth Rollins is an anti-hero, and it fucking works. Seth Rollins, whatever he does, he is so over. And I think he's supposed to be a heel, but like he gets cheered because of his personality, because of what he does. His theme music is fucking fire. He's kind of like the Joker in a way. It just works. I'm a huge fan of Seth Rollins. Now, the downside to that stable that he has is I feel like the shine is being taken away from Braun Breaker, who I thought didn't even need to be a part of this fucking stable. And if he was going to be a part of this stable, it would feel like they would be pushing him a little bit more into like a world title picture or back into the IC title picture. But they're just kind of using him as an enforcer. I think Braun is good on the mic. I think Braun, his character was basically fully developed, in my honest opinion, and I think he's a future world champion and face of the company. There, Seth Rollins is still, in my personal opinion. I know he's like I think he's in his 40s or approaching 40. But Seth is still kind of in his prime. He still can carry the company, and that's why I think Seth should go after the WWE championship rather than the world heavyweight champion. I think he should cash in on John when the time is right, because I think he deserves the main championship. Even with all due respect to the world heavyweight championship that Gunther has, that's the working. That, in my personal opinion, the world heavyweight title is the working championship, where you are basically in like competing every week, going everywhere, and you are the world heavyweight champion. The WWE champion, in my personal opinion, is more like the face of the company. Doesn't necessarily compete every week, but is involved in more storylines. And with Seth, I feel like we could get matches with Seth, something that we didn't necessarily get with Roman, and we've actually gotten. I feel like we've gotten more matches from John than we did in Roman's like 3 or 4 year title reign, to be completely honest with you. So yeah, that's my only downside. I think it works for Bronson Reed. I don't know if it works for Braun. Hopefully they figure it out, because I feel like Braun's character in this stable is reverting, is digressing. I don't know how the fuck to say it, but by himself he was progressing. So hopefully they figure that out. Monday Night Raw, we saw Chad Gable go out because he needed shoulder surgery, and we thought El Grande Americano was Chad Gable, or is he? Because Ludwig Kaiser, or I don't know, somebody wore the Grande Americano mask during Monday Night Raw, and I fucking love it. I think it's Ludwig Kaiser. We know he's a speed champion, and hey, Triple H pivoting, not having anything creative for Ludwig, and literally like giving him an opportunity. Even though I think Ludwig could be a stellar Intercontinental Champion or a contender in the mid card, they gave him this role to basically take over from Chad until Chad recovers. And I'm just curious how this turns out. Will it be Chad Gable versus El Grande Americano? And I'm a die if Chad comes back and we get Chad versus El Grande Americano, and then we get a Ludwig Kaiser versus El Grande Americano. That would be fucking hilarious, and I love it, and I'm all for it. WWE here, just take my money. In other news, not necessarily pertaining to the show, to Monday Night Raw or Night of Champions, LFG season 2 is underway. I haven't watched season episode 2 yet. I watched episode 1. But hey, it's back, and I fucking love it. The show, the first season was magnificent. I recommend you guys go check it out if you haven't, if you're a big wrestling fan. I Undertaker won season 1 basically as a coach. But Booker T's, I forget his name. Anthony, no, not Anthony Luke, not Anthony Lee. Jasper Troy on the men's side won from Booker T's team, got the NXT contract. He faced Obafemi on, I think, NXT, and then I forget the Olympian. I forgot her name, but she also made it through. She got her contract. I don't know if she's had her debut yet, but on LFG season 2, we saw Nikita Lyons come down. Hey, shout out to Nikita. I love it. Nikita Lyons came down and put somebody over, and I don't know, man. I don't know if WWE has any real plans with Nikita Lyons. I think she's a stellar athlete. She's done a lot to build her own brand outside of WWE. But I think injuries, because I think she's injured both of her ACLs, both of her knees. She's been out for a while. They just don't have anything really creative for her. She's a very robust, very vibrant girl, or woman. Sorry, not girl, woman. Who has I think a very bright future ahead of her, but I just don't know if it's going to work out in WWE. If they're asking her to put over LFG talent, right? They're asking her to put them over. It's not like they're putting her over. I thought at one point she was a future women's world champion. Maybe she still is, but we'll see. AJ Styles also, in other news, extended his contract with WWE for one more year. I think concluding at some point in 2026. At this point, I think AJ is just going to do one-off deal, 1-year deals every year until he decides it's time to retire. And to be honest with you, AJ right now looks fucking phenomenal. Get it? The phenomenal one, AJ Styles, looking phenomenal. No, AJ looks great. I think I wouldn't say he deserves another world title run, even though I thought it was a great time to be alive when AJ was the face of SmackDown, the house that AJ built, right? But AJ's a legend. AJ is undoubtedly a future Hall of Famer. Now, I would love to see AJ get sent to TNA and become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion just one last time, especially with the partnership deal that WWE now has with TNA. Fuck Trick Williams, no offense. AJ Styles should be the the World Heavyweight Champion for TNA with the history that he has, especially with now TNA using the original logo. It would just feel right. It would feel like a homecoming moment, especially because AJ built his career in TNA for the most part until obviously now he's been with WWE much longer. But hey, AJ Styles, TNA was the house AJ built. SmackDown was the house AJ built. I'm excited to see AJ around for at least one more year. That's about it. I think that's about it. WWE might sign a couple people here in the next few years. And then really briefly, like not WWE related, but shout out to AEW's Toni Storm for being the hottest thing, in my personal opinion, in wrestling. I'm not talking about her looks, even though she is gorgeous. She is timeless, as she would say. But her segments are just fucking timeless. They're perfect. They're super entertaining. That rivalry with Mercedes Moné. Now, it would be a travesty if Toni Storm loses to Mercedes Moné. Toni Storm is a homegrown AEW talent, or I think she was in WWE briefly. But what she's done for AEW, she's carrying that company. Those half-empty arenas literally pop all the time for Toni Storm. So that's it to wrap up this wrestling segment. And let's head over to the UFC. All right, guys, so let's end this episode by talking about the UFC. Let's start off with UFC Main Event 317, where the hottest thing right now in all of MMA, Ilia Topuria, who is 17-0, knocked the fuck out of legendary fighter Charles Oliveira, who I think this was either his 11th or 12th career loss, who is undoubtedly a future UFC Hall of Famer. But Ilia Topuria, basically, I think it was in the first couple minutes. UFC, as soon as that fight ended, basically posted it on YouTube because it was such a short fight. And he is now the new UFC lightweight champion. He moved up because he wanted to face Islam Makhachev, but Islam decided to move up to welterweight so he could compete for that title. And Islam Makhachev has been an incredible run the last 3 or 4 years. I think maybe it's been 5 years. I know I saw Islam come on strong, I think during COVID. I think during COVID he had 5 or 6 fights that year. But yeah, now he's going after the welterweight title. He vacated the title, only having suffered one loss in his career. We're talking about Islam Makhachev right now. And if Makhachev can become the new welterweight champion, then move back down and take out Ilia Topuria, is it possible for UFC to allow there to be a 2 weight class champion at the same time and just allow him to pick and choose? Okay, I'll fight here against this guy and this and then, because I think that's what boxing does. Boxing, boxers can go up and down and just box and have all the titles. And I don't know how boxing works, but I see a lot of belts. I see a lot of championships in different weight classes. But no, Ilia Topuria, 17-0, has the strength, was a stellar featherweight, moved up, took this fight against Charles Oliveira for the vacant title, knocked him out in the first round. Now he's 17-0, and he has a bright future ahead of him. He's right now ranked the number 1 pound for pound fighter. Islam is now number 2. And we will see once Makhachev gets to face off against Maidana, and hopefully become the new welterweight champion. I'm putting my money on Makhachev. I'm not going to lie to you. And then Toporia's career, he's got a bright future. And in other words, after John Jones announced his retirement, fighter Tom Aspinall, the new heavyweight champion, has basically just wished John Jones well in his future endeavors, acknowledged his greatness basically, and just said hasta luego. Looks like he's ready for the new challenges that are ahead of him. He was a bit bummed out that he didn't get to fight John Jones because he wanted to fight John Jones, but I just think you get to a point where that hunger, you don't have that hunger. You don't want to go to those dark places. And that's kind of what I felt like John Jones was heading to. Like he's like, his belly is full, and why not retire when he's basically undefeated? Because he should be undefeated. So that being said, that's basically it. John Jones wrapped up his career. Tom Aspinall's the new UFC heavyweight champion, and I'm excited to see what the heavyweight division looks like after this. But yeah, that basically wraps up this episode of N1 from the End Zone. Guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Please let me know if you agree or disagree with my comments. Thank you for watching the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone. Always remember, desire is power. If you desire to be great, you have the power to be great. Thank you for watching the latest episode. I'll see you next time.